Ulysses S. Grant was born in Pleasant Point, Ohio on April 27, 1822. When he graduated West Point in 1843, he was assigned to the infantry, and after serving 2 years in Missouri and Louisiana, he joined General Zachary Taylor's army in Texas. Later, in 1852, when he transferred to the western coast in the U.S. territories, he was forced to resign because he was not able to obey the rules of no drinking. Grant then became a colonel in the state militia and a national hero. He created an excellent campaign to split the Confederacy in half along the Mississippi River and moved 30,000 men south of Vicksburg across the Mississippi River without supplies. By separately defeating two Confederate armies before they could unite, he forced the fort in Vicksburg to surrender on July 4, 1863. After a 6-week blockade, President Lincoln then chose him to command all the armies of the U.S. After he rescued a large army at Chattanooga, later on he became the 18th President of the U.S. and is now on the $50 bill.
On April 30th, 1863, General Ulysses S. Grant's Union Army from Tennessee fought and campaigned to obtain the city of Vicksburg, a town being defended by the Confederates. After being defeated at Champion Hill and Big Black River, Confederate Commander General John C. Pemberton had no choice other than to retreat to defend Vicksburg. Grant found it desirable that no more loss of life shall be sustained, and ordered his men to dig trenches in order to get to the Confederates. Finally, on July 4th, Pemberton surrendered his army to Grant, placing Mississippi in the palm of the Union.
This political cartoon represents Grant's military situation. The bulldog represents the Union Army, who has cornered the Confederates. While the Confederates are guarding their doghouse from the Union, General George B. McClellan advises President Lincoln to call off the dog.
In May and June of 1863, General Ulysses S. Grant's armies met at Vicksburg, capitalizing the city and capturing a Confederate army under the leadership of Lieutenant General John Pemberton. On July 4th, Vicksburg surrendered after persistent attacks from the Union. This was the climax of one of the most intense military campaigns of the war. After Pemberton's loss, the crucial territory of the Confederacy was successfully split and controlled by the Union. After Grant's enormous success at Vicksburg, he was appointed General-in-Chief of the Union armies.
John Clifford Pemberton was born August 10, 1814, in Philadelphia. After graduating from the U.S. Military Academy, he fought in the Second Seminole War and the Mexican War. In 1862, Pemberton took command of the Department of Mississippi in East Louisiana. In the beginning, he achieved success in defeating General Ulysses S. Grant and his army in their battle to take Vicksburg. Eventually, in the spring, Grant and the Union Army planned to attack with a series of chaotic diversions that confused Pemberton and his troops, which allowed the Union to cross the Mississippi River unnoticed. Deciding to attack Grant, Pemberton and the Confederate Army left Vicksburg defenseless, giving the Union the opportunity to take control.
On May 16th, the head of Grant's southernmost column runs into Pemberton's right side. Meanwhile, his two remaining columns are threatening the Confederate left side near Champion Hill. Before the Federals advanced, the two sides fought for control of the hill for several hours, compelling the Confederates to withdraw. The proficiency of his secondary officers and the bravery of his men saved Pemberton from a complete disaster, which bought time for engineers to build a bridge over Baker's Creek and allowing the majority of Pemberton's army to escape unharmed. The Confederates will never have the chance again to defeat the Union troops in the open field. Pemberton's only option is withdrawal to the trenches at Vicksburg.
After Pemberton and his army were defeated by the Union, they lost their vital stronghold on the Mississippi, leading to an effective split of the Confederacy. This victory for Grant heightened his reputation, leading him to being assigned General-in-Chief of the Union Army.
This letter was written by Ulysses S. Grant to Stephen A. Hurlbut on May 31st, 1863. It says, "I send this by Colonel Hillier of my staff to ensure it reaching you speedily, and that he may urge upon you the necessity of the very prompt action. Vicksburg is so strong by nature and so well fortified that sufficient force cannot be brought to bear against it to carry it by storm against the present garrison. It must be taken by a regular siege or by starving out the garrison. I have all the force necessary for this if my rear was not threatened.